A dramatic final hearing of the House January 6th committee, and it all ended with a historic vote to recommend criminal charges against a former president. And they didn't stop at Donald Trump. Reporter Debra Alfarone joins us live from Capitol Hill with more on all this. Deborah?
And Liz, of course, 4 members of Congress also referred rather to the Ethics Committee because of not complying with a subpoena. It's all about these referrals. These are all referrals. And referrals really are not binding. The DOJ has to make their choice on what they're going to do and how they're going to go forward. And at this point, they're not commenting.
He summoned a mob to Washington and told them to fight like hell.
In an unprecedented step, the House Select Committee investigating January 6th voted to recommend the Justice Department file criminal charges against former President Donald Trump for his role in the attack on the U.S. Capitol.
The whole purpose and obvious effect of Trump's scheme were to obstruct, influence, and impede this official proceeding.
The charges: obstruction of an official proceeding, conspiracy to defraud the U.S. government, conspiracy to make a false statement, and inciting or assisting an insurrection were unveiled as the panel held its final public meeting.
No man who would behave that way at that moment in time can ever serve in any position of authority in our nation again. He is unfit for any office.
During the 18-month investigation, the committee interviewed more than 1,000 witnesses and pored over more than 1 million documents. Members unanimously voted to approve the final report and release it on Wednesday.
The committee also laid out evidence of a pressure campaign mounted by the former president threatening state officials.
President Trump repeatedly attacked state and local officials who refused to do his bidding.
In a response on his Truth Social platform, the former president wrote in part, "I pushed for 20,000 troops to prevent violence on January 6th and told everyone to go home." The committee also recommended potential prosecution for several Trump allies, including controversial attorney John Eastman, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and personal attorney Rudy Giuliani.
And the DOJ has actually charged more than 900 people as it conducts its own investigation into what happened that day. So they're charging those people, but again, there are a couple people that they still have to consider what they're going to do about, Liz.
Yeah, and speaking of, Deborah, what are the next steps for Donald Trump and the others discussed in this hearing?
Well, this is just a referral, and it's not binding. So again, it goes to the Department of Justice. They're not speaking. The special prosecutor's not speaking. But I can tell you, well, even though it is not binding, it does put some political pressure. Of course, we have heard from the former president, and he has his things to say about this committee. None of them very flattering, going back to his unfounded claims that there was widespread election fraud. But really, at this point, I wish I had a crystal ball. But we'll find out with the DOJ. I'm sure they're going to say something in the next couple of days. But again, so many twists and turns to this story. And we are now coming up on the two-year anniversary of what happened here, that dark day in U.S. history, January 6th.
Amazing how much time has passed, and yet we're still talking about this. And again, these are recommendations, not official charges quite yet. Yep. Debra Alfarone, live for us in Washington. Thank you so much.
Exactly.